Hey everyone, Matt here. It is Wednesday. That is the main event time where we go over our main topics for the week. So if you're watching or listening, this is the meat and potatoes of the episode. If we haven't have any news to discuss as well, that's where we'll talk about it here. For the full episode, check us out on Saturdays. Thanks for watching and listening. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome back to another episode of Stack Your Points. As always, I'm Matt from the Matt Clausen YouTube channel, joined this week by RJ from Do You Take Cards.
I am doing pretty well today. The good thing about Mondays is this is when we record, so I get to see 2 out of 3 of my favorite co-hosts.
Also, newsflash, RJ returned to YouTube last week.
I recorded a video on American Express. I'm going to be using that channel to explain certain positions I hold or give more context to my overall view of cards.
Sounds solid. How are you today, Tariq?
I'm good. And like RJ said, it's a Monday. And the silver lining with Mondays is that when they're over, we're here. And this makes it worth, at least on my side of the globe that we are, worth staying past midnight. I'm glad we did this. I know we talk about it and we don't mention it very often, but I'm glad this is a thing.
It is indeed a thing. It's a very fun thing. We are without Lonnie this week. He is traveling.
On assignment. Lonnie's on assignment.
So
his assignment is vacation.
I try to be nice about it, but Lonnie's not with us this week, but we have a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to jump into your questions, which is great because I just finished doing my taxes and that was not a fun time. Today, we're going to move over to our news roundup and topics. And we actually have some news to talk about today because US Bank decided to gift us with news on the day that we're recording.
And I have breaking news for this.
Oh.
The Smartly card is also no longer premium metal.
Oh, no.
Sorry. I got an alert from Credit Card Reddit and it was Smartly, so I clicked on it and it's no longer advertised as a premium metal card.
Let's have fun with this one.
The US Bank Smartly card, the Dacia Sandero of credit cards. Smartly changes. Cashback rewards are earned under the US Bank Smartly Visa signature. Oh, RJ, you put in the full. Smartly was a 2% card that had a bonus reward structure program that would allow you to earn 2.5, 3, or 4% based on your relationship with US Bank. You could get 4% with combined account balances, $100,000 or more, based on your balances either in a savings account, a checking account, or a investment account. That was for people who applied for and received the card prior to today. As of today, you can still get elevated earnings of 2.5%, 3%, and 4%, but it's going to depend on the balances held in a specific checking account, the US Bank Smartly checking account, and there's a debit access account that also qualifies, or safe debit account. So deposits in other US Bank accounts do not qualify toward the qualifying balance requirements. Based on your qualifying balance, you will earn points according to the following earning structure. It used to be $5,000 in across these accounts up to $49,999.99. That is now $10,000 to $49,999.99. We'll get you 2.5 points. So you got a 25% boost. You got a 50% boost for holding between $50,000 and $99,999.99. You would get 3 points per dollar. And for $100,000 or more, you would get 4 points per dollar. Now, you have to hold that amount of money in a checking or safe debit account. It does not count if it's in the savings account. Does not count if it is in a money market account. It does not count if it is in a wealth management account that US Bank manages overseas. It has to be one of those two accounts. They've also dropped the limit of spend that you can do per month up to $10,000 per billing cycle in order to earn these elevated rates. And they have, I don't know if they cut off the earning structure, because it was rumored that tuition and school related expenses, taxes, gift cards, and something else were going to be kiboshed. Don't know if that made it into the articles, but if it did, that's another thing that was nerfed. Yeah, we have speed run the destruction of this card very quickly across the community. So good job, everyone who was doing things with the Smartly card that made US Bank run around with their hair on fire. Tariq, you mentioned in the pre-show that you were going to have some thoughts here.
When I first saw Smartly, and I'm sure everyone in the community who first saw Smartly we thought it was going to be something that could really compete and give Bank of America's preferred rewards a run for their money. Now that we see this and what's going on, Bank of America preferred rewards versus US Bank Smartly is like hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby. This is absolutely insane. I see no incentive to really even recommend or even try to go into Smartly just because of one, all the problems they had. And two, if you're going to earn 4 points per dollar for a card, are you really going to have $100,000 in a checking account? At least with Bank of America and their preferred rewards, you can put $100,000 into the combination of savings, checking, and their Merrill Lynch account. And at least you get like a savings booster on like the savings accounts with the savings account versus whatever you're getting checking with US Bank Smartly. And of course, the 75% boost on the Bank of America card if you're going to go cash back. So yeah, it may not be 4% on a catch-all, but what is it? 1.5% plus 75%?
It's
2.625. Yeah. And that's just for the catch-all. You get the customized cash rewards, but you're going to go up a little bit more. So I still think after seeing this, US Bank is just, I don't know what they expected to happen, but it's just downhill. I think US Bank might have sold the stake of their business to Elliott Investment Company, Elliott Management, the way it's been going, and they're taking a page out of Southwest and how to ruin the program.
You had to see the writing on the walls as soon as it was announced that there were elements of the community that were going to do what they can to break this thing, mostly because that's what a certain segment of the community is all about. The most overpowered cards, we can't have nice things. From what I was seeing on like Boggleheads, I didn't get too deep into credit Reddit on this one, but unlimited 4%. Oh, and here's the thing for right now. If you applied for and received the card prior to today, you got the premium metal card, but you also will be grandfathered for an undetermined amount of time that you will still have all the benefits that you had prior to today's benefits changes and updates. There's no way that's going to continue much longer than we've already seen. Like the card came out less than 6 months ago and they've already effectively destroyed the program because of what people did to the program because they didn't put enough safeguards in place. I think one of the things going forward, and one of the things why you don't see a lot of issuers do a lot of interesting things, is because the people who speed ran the destruction of Smartly are going to do the same thing on other cards. Like the City Prestige got nerfed the way it got nerfed because it was super unprofitable to Citibank because they didn't have the foresight to know that like even 3,500 people were using fourth night free on every single hotel stay, and they were taking a lot more hotel stays because they could afford to. And they were getting that fourth night free, costing Citi thousands of dollars by themselves, and then costing Citi millions of dollars in aggregate. So part of why you don't see too many interesting things out of credit card issuers is their risk mitigation because of a niche part of the community that takes it upon themselves to destroy everything they can.
So I looked it up. Not all purchases are eligible for Smartly bonuses. Purchases classified as, and this is classified according to Visa, vacation and school, gift cards, including gift card websites, insurance and taxes, and then business to business transactions for goods purchases, plumbing and heating supplies, construction materials, things like that, computer programming services, even if not made for business purposes, and then transactions to third-party bill-paying sites will earn the base 2 points. If you, a year ago, right, before this even came out, before any of us knew the name Smartly, before we knew US Bank was doing anything, right? A year ago, if you put on paper what happened and put credit 1 at the top and handed it out, most people would believe that is accurate, that it would have been a credit 1 product with the chain of events that, right? Like, this is something that a terrible company does. They put out a product, they don't do enough research on what's going to happen, they don't do enough planning for what people are going to do to break it, and then they immediately have to start taking from the program, they have to change the rules. If this was something where the top amount moved was $10,000 instead of $100,000, that would suck. But it would suck so much less than the people who moved multiple tens of thousands and $100,000 of dollars into US Bank system to now have to either move it out or just have their money in a place where they didn't want it to begin with. And a lot of people are going to move their money out, not necessarily because they don't like the product, but they're going to move it out of spite. This is how you get people to never want to do business with your bank again, no matter how the product you put out is. This is how you make them hate you. Keith in our Discord says, I don't want to sign up for a product that I don't think will outlast the 524 slot. And I think that is as accurate as you could get to this. This product at the 524 mark is going to be a completely different product. They will share the name Smartly and nothing else, I think, just because of how utterly incompetent it seems that US Bank was when they put this product out. Like, how do you not have people who understand how people use credit cards as part of your credit card strategy? These are basic things you should do if you're making a credit card, like very basic things. And it seems like they skipped all of that because they thought like bringing in $100,000 on the top end was going to stop. Did they think it was only for the poors? And I mean that like legitimately. Did they think that only poor people churned? Because a lot of the people who do the most churning have millions of dollars in their bank accounts across various banks.
Like at the beginning was going to be $100,000 in an investment account. That's someone's retirement account. Like, I'm not at that stage yet just because I'm still fairly young, but somebody in their 30s or 40s who was invested well can easily have 100,000. And that's not even including just the investment. That's the investment plus checking plus savings. So yeah, they really dropped the ball there.
This does feel like the purple incarnation of Satan. I do wonder how many Vikings were brought in for meetings about this card.
It's just Warren Moon, guys. It's fine. US Bank gets the saving grace of being US Bank. When it comes to their reward system, I refer to them as playing 3-card Monty because they have 77 different types of rewards across 47 card. The Altitude Reserve, which is still around but discontinued and will probably come back later this year, because third crack at the apple is when you're really going to keep it around for everyone. US Bank can get away with this just because it's another quirky thing that US Bank did. They bring back the Altitude Reserve, everyone's happy. If this was Wells Fargo, if this was Capital One, it would be a much bigger deal. Chase doing this would be awful. American Express doing something like this would be terrible. But you have Bank of America able to do their program responsibly.
But Wells Fargo gets bashed in certain circles for stuff they did 10, 15 years ago that was admittedly horrible and far worse than this, but that's what they're remembered for. Like, I do wonder if you give it 6 months to a year, I think this is going to be worse than you think. People like the Altitude Reserve less in practice than they do in theory, right? Like, people like the idea of the mobile wallet. They like the idea of real-time rewards. I've talked to some people who have the card who really thought they were going to like it, and they actually don't like it as much in practice as they do as a theoretical thing that is out there. But I do wonder, like, even if they bring back the Altitude Reserve, they're probably going to change it for future cardholders because of this. So I do wonder if they are going to be more tarnished than we're giving them credit for now, because I understand we all think their systems are weird, but I do wonder if the general public is only going to hear about this and then internalize that. And then if the Altitude Reserve comes back with major changes, if it's going to hurt them.
That's certainly possible. Thinking about Altitude Reserve coming back, the only things I could think of, if they just brought it back the way it is, that would be fine. I could see them raising the annual fee on returning it That would suck for new applicants, but I could see them raising the annual fee. And I do think the other thing that they could do to smooth over everything is just extend the priority pass restaurants to everyone, because they're never going to open a lounge. If this is the way that US Bank launches a 4% everything card, their lounges would be upside down. They could also just start like undoing the damage that they did to Altitude Go and Altitude Connect, because they nerfed those cards to at the altar of Smartly, and Smartly is in trouble. If this was a liquidity play, it was terrible, and they're going to lose a lot of liquidity. And if that was indicative of them not having a good enough amount of liquidity, you could see US Bank in 12 to 18 months suddenly have a liquidity crisis, which is not good for a top 10 bank. And I don't think that they're designated as a bank that is too big to fail.
I think that they should force the Vikings to be sold to Saskatchewan. Get the Vikings out of Minnesota.
They can move them down to Mankato.
I just want the Vikings to be in pain. That's my general play right here.
Honestly, the Vikings should have never sold the Vikings in 2005, rest in peace, and he should have just brought the team to San Antonio, because that's where his thing is. And then I would have probably been a Vikings fan. Sorry, RJ, but that's just the rules. I love the Saints, but as soon as they're a team in San Antonio, I abandon all fanship and become a fan of my hometown team.
Don't think San Antonio is going to get an NFL team in.
I will never see it, because Jerry Jones and the McNair family care too much about their teams to ever get a team in San Antonio, despite the fact that we can sustain an NFL team. We would just need a new stadium because the Alamo Dome is 30 years old.
Build the stadium first.
We did that already. That failed in 95.
Build another one.
I don't think San Antonio can do that again, although it would be a nice new home for the Roadrunners.
You know what? Hire Doug Dimmadome.
I can just imagine you now with that giant hat on your head. It really bothers me.
I'm on site.
Just the Alamo Dome at this point.
Yeah.
There we go. So US Bank, good job, guys. I'm impressed, honestly. I'm impressed. Now get your cards to pool together, and maybe I'll forgive you. But yeah, this was hilarious. And banks, dear banks, there's a pool of people who talk about credit cards. Maybe reach out to some of us, and just like on a freelance or consulting basis, ask us how we would break credit cards.
Honestly, depending on how much you pay, you could hire one of us.
The Stack Your Points podcast will freelance as credit card consultants for how to break things. I think between the four of us, we can cover most ways that people would use this card.
Very much available. That's how we get our $2 million, guys. So we're going to move over to our topics, and we're going to start with Tariq, your topic this week.
So it is a credit card topic. It's just a very not talked about credit card topic, and that being store cards. So the context for this, my topic was, I was out at one of the malls. We were shopping for things, and we walked by Forever 21, and it was the realization of, oh crap, they're closing. My girlfriend wanted to go in there because everything was at the 50% off. And as I was walking, I saw one of the on the wall about the Forever 21 card, and it had me thinking, what's going to happen to that card, to the people who have that card when it cancels? And I just happened to look up who was the issuing bank. It's Bread Financial. We all know them, but for the most part, they're not talked about in the community, just because aside from the ones that are on like a Visa, American Express, or MasterCard payment network, they're usually handcuffed to the retailer that you're doing it, and the rewards are it. There are some exceptions like the Apple Card and like your warehouse cards and Best Buy, where you can get actual cashback benefits. But for the most part, you're going to be at the register and they're like, hey, do you want to open up the Old Navy card and get 20% off this purchase? So bring it up, because I wanted to see, to my co-hosts, what cards that they think are actually worth getting. What do you think what would happen if something like like Forever 21, like a retailer was going to close? Because I'm pretty sure the banks would still want the relationship and still want you to spend money on their card. RJ, let's start with you.
I do think the Apple Card has the 0 APR basically forever for Apple purchases. So I've had the card 5-6 years. I will, every time I buy a new Apple device, I pretty much buy it on that card, unless I'm just going to buy it outright because of the 0 APR. Now I can buy the purchases in full and just get MR points for them, but I could also just have the 0 APR. And if I want to pay it off early, I can. If I don't, then I basically just get it on a payment plan for free. So I like that feature. That's what I usually do. I actually wish that more cards would use the UI in Apple Wallet that they do for the interest and how everything works. Apple did really well with that. I wish others would implement it. I think like warehouse cards are usually worth it because very few have a warehouse category that aren't just a general catch-all to begin with. Here's the thing about these cards. They are not for us, right? These are not for people like us. The Amazon cards from various issuers can work as more of a general card, but these really just aren't for people like us, right? If you care about what your 524 score is, or if you care about having different things going on in your credit profile to go forward and to maximize things, these are not the cards for you. The Best Buy one, I think, has 0 APR. If you go through the Best Buy card for your purchases, that can be helpful. That's great for like college students. You're buying that new laptop for school or you're doing things like that. I have a hard time placing them outside of like the Apple Card, which is a very niche product. The rumors are it's coming to Amex, which I personally think is hilarious. I also wonder if it's going to count for the 9 cards per issuer if it comes to Amex, and will I have to kick another card out of my digital wallet to keep the Apple Card in my wallet if it counts as an Amex card? But yeah, no, I think they're just not for us. It's like the Saver one for good credit. None of the people typically that are going to listen to our podcast or us that are not new or rebuilding are going to care about those cards. Most people who have those cards are not looking for podcasts like this, or they've had those cards for so long that they're not going to close them because they want to keep their age of accounts up, or they want to do whatever. Does that really matter? Not really, but the colloquial wisdom of keep cards open if free. And some of those cards oddly have really low interest rates for general purchases. I have a friend who has a store card. It's got 7% interest. She's had it for 20 years. I think they've forgotten that this card exists. So the interest never got bumped up, but she will occasionally use it because the interest is low enough where if she has to pay the minimum for a month or whatever, she's not paying 30%. Not that she really does that, but still, it's a peace of mind thing for her. So sometimes they'll have weird things like that, but they're just not for us. Like, as much as we all care about certain things, they're just not for us. They can be a good tool, though, depending on what they're doing. Like, the Bass Pro one has a couple of cool perks, and certain cards do, but by and large, they're just not for us.
Yeah, it's funny because I think, active, I want to say I'm at 3.
Ones do you have?
It is the Target Circle card, the Amazon Prime Visa, and the Costco Visa. Those are the 3 that I can know off at the top of my head. The Costco Visa was funny because the mindset of that one was I was going to use it for 4% gas and maybe like the 2% at Costco. And then my gas purchases, I would have paid for the membership with the rewards just on gas purchases, which is funny because I don't use the card for gas anymore. So it just sits there.
The Costco and Amazon cards live in their own world. It feels like it's like the Venture X with Capital One, right? Like, it's Capital One, but is it really Capital One? Like, it's got their own like customer service. It feels outside of the bounds, like the Apple Card and the sort of the warehouse cards. They feel outside of the bounds of your Target Red or your Victoria's Secret credit card or whatever.
Yeah, the Target Red I only use like I said, they gave me an offer to get the MasterCard Red card, but I said I only use it at Target. Just give me the store card. Give me the limit, but just keep the store card network. And I haven't really gone to Target that often, and I guess I'll just use it with the exception of if Target's ever like a 5% category. If it's 5 XUR points at Target, I'm just going to use my Freedom Flex instead of the 5% discount. I'll just get the 5% on the back end instead of the front end. But yeah, Amazon and Costco, they're like a weird co-brand cashback card that just gives you extra benefit at those stores. Store cards are weird. Matt, do you have any like of those store cards?
So the only store card I hold is the Apple Card. using that for my Apple Watch purchase late last year for the installment plan, and I will put phones on it. I have put watches on it. I nearly put my computer, I was torn between putting my computer on that card, and then I was like, no, you're an idiot. Put it on the Blue Business Plus. You have a welcome offer to hit. So I did that instead. Most people, the folks who aren't listening to this podcast, most of their credit card debt, if they're holding credit card debt, comes from store cards. Store cards can be either, there are some really good store cards. A lot of them are not good at all. Store cards in general are not really worth the plastic they're printed on. Some can be predatory, some can be just really bad earning, but folks will live and die by shopping at that particular store. If it works for them, it works for them. For some folks, a store card is the only way to get started with their credit card journey. Others, store cards could be the only way that they get back into credit cards after falling into issues. Store cards are a bit of a lightning rod just because what you get is not necessarily worth what we're willing to do for them now, where we are in the game, but everyone in the game is playing a different game than normal people. And for normal people, store cards do a lot for them, just in terms of, I shop here, I get my discounts here, I use the card to get my discount. It is far more valuable for me to get 20% off JCPenney than it is to worry about cashback. So that's the impetus behind store cards. Store cards or retail cards that are actually worth getting. The Apple Card for sure. The BJ's One Plus card, they have two cards, but the One Plus card gives you like 5% on select BJ's purchases and 2% everywhere else, and a 20-cent per gallon discount on BJ's gas. If you don't have BJ's in your area, go for the Costco card. You'll probably be better off there. The Sam's Club cards are trash. So those two companies have the overwhelming majority of store cards. If for whatever reason your store of choice goes out of business, like Forever 21, for example, it'll be replacing the card. Bread is more likely to replace the card. I don't think you're going to get that 2% Amex card, but you could get the other Amex card, which is like a 321 card.
I haven't looked up because I have both the sides. The one you're talking about, it's a 3-1, but it has a plus 25.
That's right. It's not a terrible card, but it's not a particularly good card.
I mean, if you use you do all your spend on it, let's just say the points are 1 cent per point. If you do 20 purchases, it's 3.75% on like your
it's
grocery dining and stuff.
This is a hate crime. The bread has an NFL points Visa credit card, and it literally says for everyone except for the Green Bay Packers. This is a hate crime. And
RJ,
I would like to
fan?
file a complaint.
You're a fan of an NFL team.
I feel like this is still a hate crime. It's a crime.
Which is weird because there is a Green Bay Packers extra points card.
I am so sad right now.
Like, I think
exclusive card.
I quit your whining.
Bonus points if you can put Jordan Love on it.
It's going to cost you a $49 annual fee.
I'm not going to get it.
There we go.
Just don't get the Brett Favre one that'll start stealing money from the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
So store cards in general, like they're a source of a lot of the credit card debt. Most of them are bad. The Target Circle card is definitely worth getting because there's no other real way to get cash back or significant points at Target.
Unless you want to deal with US Bank.
Boy, howdy.
Shop for Cash Cards still exists, I think.
And they don't care if you scam them out of $100. Be my guest. Yeah, some are good, most are bad. There's only 2 or 3 I would consider getting. But if the issuing bank, if the store goes out of business, the issuing bank has the option to either close the account or they're more likely to convert you to another card. Synchrony has a 2% card. If Synchrony co-brand partner goes out of business, they'll probably just slap you with the 2% card. They've done it before. Same thing with Barclays. Barclays will just give you the Barclays Worldview card. It's the only way to get it is by other cards just dying. So they're more likely to try to keep you as a customer by giving you another card, and it'll keep your credit line going.
Yeah, for the most part. If you're in the game, you're probably not doing store cards unless you really want that 20% off at QVC. But aside from that, nah. Appreciate you entertaining my topic for the week, guys. Who's next, Matt?
Absolutely. And if you're going to do that QVC 20% off credit card, at least stack it with Rakuten.
Tariq, there is a K Jewelers credit card with 18 months special financing.
I will.
No sign up on it.
You know what? No.
This is just the episode of Matt slowly shaking his head like a disappointed father.
Worst part is it's still $500 max at K on Mileage Plus X. So I would just have to buy multiple $500 K gift cards.
And then you would turn into Lonnie and be banned for several years from the app.
Look, my girlfriend still has a Mileage Plus X account that she has a United account and hasn't been touched. In the event that I get to banned, I will be.
Then somebody's just going to have to report you.
Now we're going to put you in an ovular.
We're putting you in the debit card room.
Yeah.
All right, fine. It'll be Amex, so I can get at least half an more point per dollar. And I could still possibly use that with Mileage Plus X. It just wouldn't be as good of a stack.
RJ, please take your topic.
So we're going to talk about points and miles now.
On a Points and Miles podcast?
So my question is, you can buy hotel points, you can buy airline points, not always at the best value, but you can still do it. You have ways of upgrading, downgrading, doing things and spend $2,000, get 50,000 points or things like that, right? But you have to finagle it, right? Like you got to downgrade a card, you got to talk to a rep. It becomes this where everybody's doing this dance. Do you think banks should just be like, all right, look, your card is renewed for another year. You paid your annual fee. Go into the settings and you got 3 options. If you spend $2,000, we'll give you X number of points. If you spend $5,000 in this time, we'll give you X number of points. Like it feels banks want us to swipe, right? They want us to spend money on their cards. Amex and Chase do credits. Other banks try to finagle us to do it. But if they just gave us like mini subs, I feel like it would be easier for them because then they wouldn't have the people like begging every year for it to customer service and calling multiple times, taking multiple people's time up, trying to get the best offer. Should banks start doing this for their own points, maybe doled out and you can buy 10,000 points a month or something like that? Should banks start doing things the way that hotels and airlines do to make it so people are dealing with their points and not trying to finagle 18 ways out of the sun when it just ends up as the same option? Tariq, I'm going to go to you first.
I feel like this, as great as it sounds in theory, I feel like that's just like exclusively something that
it would go to other banks. Like, I'm not just saying Amex, I'm saying other banks.
No, and I get that. I'm just saying it would benefit the Amex users a lot more than some of the other ones, just because they're the ones, from what we've seen, they play downgrade or close, basically, from like to call it, just from what we see. So it would help with that headache, getting those calls and seeing, yeah, you use all the credits, don't BS us, but here we'll entertain you with 5,000 MR points on $40,000 instead. I would be curious to see the value of the points, just because it would also affect with the transferable currencies, the transfer partners, in seeing if they'd probably get a significant increase in more transfer partner transfers. So if that would be a trickle down in a sense of we're going to see higher or more frequent, larger devaluations over time. But aside from that, I like the idea. If my annual fee on my Sapphire Preferred hits next month, so if I can get like a retention offer or like a subscription-based retention offer, even if it's just for an extra additional fee, I think that would be cool. And it would incentivize me to use the card aside from the occasional dining purchase, because I get 3.1 versus 3 on my other Chase cards. And it would just not just be a glorified points medium or points transfer medium. I think it would be cool, but how I would want it to look, it would be nice for a push notification, but if everyone could see the notification, it would probably be everyone saying yes that are in the game. I would maybe like to see maybe something like how Amex does like in the chat and be like, hey, my annual fee just hit. Are there any what are my retention offer options or something like, what are like my annual fee subscription options? Like I could see that kind of like a chat or maybe like a voice call, and they can get like a email verification. And if you're built, never mind, you're built. So I think that would be pretty cool. But I think I just am worried on how it would mean, just because there's going to be an increased supply of transferable points that would go to transfer partners. And maybe I'm just scared that would make Hyatt go dynamic if they did that. So maybe that's why I'm just like, but that's just making it happen sooner than later.
Yeah, but you're in the hardest to earn one to do. So get in Hilton and their points are easy. Matt, what are your thoughts on having some sort of automatic system where you don't have to sing for your supper? You can just click your options. They can limit the options, right? If you didn't use your card much last year, so you got $2,000 for 10,000 points, right? Like they can goose those numbers if they want to make you be like, okay, I got to spend more on this card this year, so next year I get a better offer. What are your thoughts there?
I could definitely see them doing accelerators. So anyway, I do think they could do something like an accelerator where you spend if you spend $40,000 on your card, you're going to get an extra 20,000 points just as a bonus, right? And that's taking like from the Hilton Surpass and the Hilton Diamond, the Hilton Business Card, where if you put $40,000 to spend through each card, you're going to get Diamond status. Same thing on the Hilton Honors, where you spend 20,000, you're going to get Hilton Gold for the next year. I think something like that sort of accelerator would be interesting. A subscription model would be cool, but the thing is, the bank would have to do something where you're buying the points for less than you can redeem them for it to be worthwhile for most people to consider. That value proposition has to be in there somewhere. And I don't know if a subscription would be able to do that, but an accelerator, maybe, because you do see these weird offers on like Amex business cards that are spend $15,000 3 times and get an additional 9,300 membership reward points. They're the silliest offers around. You get that accelerator and it turns your spend from like flat 2x everything to now it's 2.97x, just under 3 or something like that. And you're going to have to spend like $60,000 to do it, but you do get an additional 27,000 points. So I think spend accelerators are a way to do it. I do think something like once your annual fee hits, you could have an option to do like a side quest instead, not to retain your annual fee, but to show appreciation for someone who puts a lot of spend. Like it would be the people who are putting a lot of spend through those cards that would more likely get those sorts of offers, where you'd get something like spend $10,000 this year and get 15,000 extra points. But it's going to be over the course of the year to prove that you want to hit that. Whereas Amex can get away with the upgrade offers that they do without having to do the back and forth game that some folks will do. You are seeing a lot less retention offer chicken lately. You're also seeing fewer mentions of the upgrade downgrade, which I think is good, just because I think the community realizes, oh, maybe highlighting this and not thinking about how people would abuse it has caught on, at least on the community side of things. The banks still have no idea, or they don't care yet.
I think they know exactly what people are doing. I don't think they care, because if you say you have to spend X, you're doing at least one swipe for the $2,000 or the whatever the offer is, right? So they're getting, like, if you're Amex and you own your own payment network, you win either way. Somebody does multiple swipes for the money, or somebody does one swipe, you're still getting that processing fee.
Yeah. And Amex is different in that regard, just because they keep everything in-house. And Capital One is going to be able to offer this in 5 or 6 years when they bring everything in-house. When it comes to Capital One and the Discover merger, there are 2 paths I think they can go down. There is the long path where like they make a moonshot bet within 5 to 10 years. So in that 5 to 6 year time frame, they're able to bring everything in-house because they have invested heavily, put the company on black type heavily investing, and it'll pay off. There's the short path, which I think is just let's make the Discover It card, Capital One card, and don't do anything else. I think accelerators would be interesting. I don't necessarily see a subscription as an option, but like some sort of retainer in app based on the spend that you did could be interesting as well.
Yeah, I think that it's easier if they control it, right? Because right now it's whatever the rep seemingly feels like that day. It's random. You also have the reason that I would put it in app, even if it's more varied, is you have to staff for this. Because if people are doing multiple calls, if people are doing multiple chats, you have to have staff to accommodate that. And they have response times. We've all dealt with phone calls or with chat where like you're waiting forever. You don't want that customer dissatisfaction when you do the surveys. So I think at least if it's in the app, they can simply have it be a simpler step. We're going to give you this offer. You use your card a lot. We're going to give you multiple offers. It incentivizes them to spend, even if they're not getting that a big benefit because they want it for next year. And Chase wants the swipes. Amex, everybody wants the swipes. This is a way to do it where 50,000 points isn't really that much to them. That is less than most subs for them. For Amex, it's between the green and the gold on the personal side, right? They're going to pay out a lot more than 50,000 points in those sign-up bonuses for all of those people who sign up and hit the sign-up bonus. So it controls it in a way of people not trying to do other things. So I think banks are going to try to control things a little more, and I think this is a way they can try to do that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. As we've said, subscriptions are probably out. I think point purchasing opportunities would be interesting, but somebody's going to make the math on that one. Like Amex could do it, but I don't think anyone else could.
They also like and as much as I hate cent per point hell, we would do the math on that, right? But if you told an average Amex person to you once a year, say they only do it they do it a week a year, right? A week a year, you can buy up to 100,000 Amex points. There are people who have 500,000 Amex points that would buy 100,000 with zero exit plan for them, and they would probably be in there the next year. Points would go to people's account. I don't know if as many points would go out as we probably think, because we would all do the math on if it's work. Not everybody would.
Somewhere.
I am so sorry, Spathco, that I brought up that and you're now doing math frantically in the background.
These topics. He has opened up his Excel and already started number crunching.
What would they have, Spathco, I want you to comment. What would they have to sell MR points at for it to actually be worth it? For most people, I want you to tell me what they would have to sell the MR points at.
I am looking forward to this response. And I swear if he tells us to go to cent per point hell, I may or may not think the answer is worth it.
I feel like it would be a point.
No, don't do the math.
This is a Spaceco mission for him. Since he wants
How about this? I have a number in my head. That number is under half a cent per point. I will not say what that exact number is, but I have a feeling Spathco will come very close to my number.
You made that a little easy on him.
I'm looking forward to his answer. And if he just does the middle finger emoji, and then I also understand that.
What other incentives besides credits do you think issuers could use to provoke more loyalty or dedicated spend? RJ?
Give us the goddamn kickers back for number of transactions a month. It's not that hard. Amex had cards that did this, and then they took them away because they were terrible cards otherwise. But if you had, say that we'll take the Chase Freedom Unlimited, right? It's 1.5 everything. They do offers where it's 3x for a year. So obviously 3x is not going to completely break their banks, right? But if they just did a kicker that you had 20 transactions a month and you got an extra 0.5, so it was a 2, and even if you capped that at a certain number, people are still going to do that because they use the card anyway. Now they might use it 5 or 10 more swipes, and you get to reap the benefits of that. If you put it on cards that people historically use and you just juice it a little bit, then people are going to do that. If you did it on the platinum, where you could basically turn the platinum into a 2x everything, if you use the card, say 20 times a month, people will use it 30 times a month simply to get that 2x on their platinum so they don't have to carry another card. Or if you use it 15 times in mobile wallet, you get all of your mobile wallet transactions are 2x. Or something like the gold where you have the rotations and the kicker is what the 4x is your top spend. I think if they gave people options on the card, so they're still controlling what those options are, but they let people tailor that spend to them, people are just going to spend more on those cards naturally. If you make good cards, people will use them. Yes, there will be people who abuse them. There will be people who do that. But there'll be a lot of people who might do that for a month or two and get bored. Yes, there will be breakers. There will always be. They should account for that. But they can also just make a good card that people want to use. Because if you make a good card people want to use, enough people are going to use that card, you're going to make money off of it. So I think doing things like kickers, doing things like boosts, if you spend X a month or if you spend on X number of transactions, it's an easy thing to do. You don't actually have to make it that much more. You can do it on the platinum, make it a 20,000 point cap a month for 2x, and people will go crazy for that. People will stop using what other cards if they could just do it on that. Plus you make the platinum cooler, and the platinum is your marquee card, so you want it to be cool. So I think it's easy. I think doing something like that on the Freedom Unlimited is a no-brainer, because then you get to end the criticism you don't have a 2x everything. Because if you have a 2x, if you just do 20 transactions on the Freedom Unlimited, even if you say you have to use the card 20 different days, right? Even if somebody's buying a banana each of those days, you're still going to make out on swipe fees. So the bank isn't going to care if you're doing $4 on each banana or a bunch of bananas or whatever you're buying, right? They're still making out on the swipe fees. They still win for giving you that half a MR point. Now you have a 2x everything on a chase card. Everybody's happy. I think that banks are by their nature conservative and they don't want to give out anything they don't have to, but they also are trying to do credits to get people to spend. And I think if they stopped doing credits and started doing kickers like that, they would get more spend in ways that they actually want.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. A lot of this came from the members only video I did with Lonnie. Kickers were a big part of it, especially when it came to talking about, built. But I think kickers across the board are a great idea that I don't know why more companies haven't stolen that idea since American Express has given up on that.
I think of loyalty for banks whenever they're using their card. I always pivot towards, I think of Bank of America's preferred rewards, just because it's more than just swiping on the card. They're incentivized, like you're incentivized to put in your assets, a lot of it liquid assets, into Bank of America checking, savings, and Merrill Lynch investment accounts. Because if you get to like a certain number, then you get the percentage boost on the credit cards that you spend. So if Chase or American Express did something to that nature, because I know Chase has JP Morgan in their checking, but if they implemented something like that, where if you hold in 50, 75, $100,000 in assets, you're going to get a boost on it. If you get a 1.5x card and then you get your Freedom Unlimited and you get the 50% boost on that, you're going to get a 2.25x catch-all card. And that's not even including the 3x on dining, drugstores, and 5x on the Chase Travel Portal. And that would incentivize that. I think that would incentivize people to just have a bunch of money in there, and then they'll still be able to use that money on the banking side for the loans, because they're not paying you a lot in interest, but they're going to make money on just investing that liquid cash and then being able to loan it out for their other partners, whether it be like the auto loan side or personal loans, whatever they do. So especially for Chase, they should peek over at Bank of America and see what they're doing. And yeah, they may not get the swipes on the card, but they'll still have money to make up for it, because they're going to get more money in deposit accounts and more money in investment accounts with JP Morgan. And that could offset the lesser amount in swipes, because you're only using the Sapphire Preferred to transfer points to your partners. So I think that something akin to the preferred rewards Bank of America could really help with the loyalty side of banks and their cards.
It's worked for Bank of America. What are you doing, Minnesotans? I blame their salads that aren't actually salads.
You mean you don't want a tub of mayo in your salad?
No,
Tariq,
no, I don't.
you're farther from the Midwest than Matt and I are. Western New York is in some ways quasi-Midwestern in their culinary sensibilities. Look, Google it. You'll be horrified.
You said Minnesota salad?
I do think, one, I think the modular card would make the most sense. I just do. I know it's never going to happen. So I think instead of credits, if you want to issue, like if you want to have brand partnerships and increase brand spend, you could do things like give a token credit with regard to the brand. Let's say Chase and DoorDash, where you get Dash Pass for holding the Sapphire Reserve, but then the rest of your, like, don't worry about giving me a $25 coupon broken up into 3 different parts. Give me 5 times earning on Dash Pass. I'm going to make Dash Pass my primary delivery system, and I'm going to order through Dash Pass, and you're going to like just give me 5 times on Dash Pass. That's 5 times on grocery. I'm going to spend more than I need to, but you've locked me in as a customer with Dash Pass because I'm going to use those points to fund a vacation on points. It's not travel for free, but I'm going to be traveling well above my station because of the points that I earned through your Dash Pass partnership.
It's traveling on cheesesteak.
Yes. We've broken Tariq's Brian.
Do me a favor and Google garbage plate.
Garbage plate.
Saying it's weirder. I want to keep shoveling weird food.
That's not how bad.
Do they sort of in prisons?
Rochester, New York.
Look, I was already broken enough when I saw Altoona style pizza.
One thing that Chase does is that on their co-brand cards, they do monthly or quarterly bonuses. They'll do things like for your next $1,000 to spend, you can get 5 times Hyatt points on your Hyatt card. And it'd be like gas, grocery, dining on that card. But it's $1,000, about a quarter, and it's 5x. Give me something like that on my Sapphire Reserve. Don't just make it targeted, and let everyone have access to it.
1.25 on grocery on your Sapphire Reserve.
Yeah, still going 3x on DoorDash. Thank you very much. But yeah, I see your point. Accelerators are a way to do it. Bonuses are a way to do it. Spend $3,000 a month to get an extra 500 points, 1,000 points. Doesn't matter what your category of spend is for the 3,000, but spend 3,000 a month. Kickers would be great. I miss the idea of kickers, but credits, like Amex knows the credits work, but something else like kickers or brand deal, exclusive brand, elevated earnings with brands, I feel would work better.
Give me 5 XMR points at Dunkin' Donuts and I will spend so much on coffee. Give me a Dunkin', 5 XMR points, and I will be so caffeinated, I won't need a rocket to go to space.
I would say you're going to have a very caffeinated redemption.
America runs on RJ's ability to consume coffee that month.
America runs on RJ's ability to stack her points at Declan. Go back to what I find like my happy place.
That's going to do it for this episode. If you like what we do, hit the like and subscribe button down below. If you have any questions for us, use the question episodes on Fridays. You can drop us a line on the Stack Your Points Discord. Please join it. The link is always in the description, where you can use the podcast questions section of the Discord. You can also email us at stackyourpoints@gmail.com. RJ is now monitoring that inbox. RJ, where would be the best place to find you on the internet?
You can find me in the stack. You can find me at Do You Take Cards here on YouTube.
You can find me on the Stack Your Points Discord.
I'm Matt Clausen of the Matt Clausen YouTube channel. You can check out Lonnie's channel at Call Me Lonnie. That's CALLMELANI. It's all one word. Thanks so much for watching this week. We look forward to seeing you next week with Lonnie's return. Talk to you then. Bye for now.